like what's happening now. Like even diabetes is connected to British colonization, like why do South Asians develop diabetes more than any other ethnicity? Why? It goes back to colonization and the impact of that. And it's not only that, there's mental health and physical health impacts. And I think it's important for us to make those connections and really understand what's happening, why within our communities.
I agree with you.
That was just my thought.
I was just Googling the fact you just mentioned. You said diabetes in the South Asian community is connected to colonization. So Gemini, we just use Gemini now. What's the point of Google anymore? We might as well have a whole conversation with Gemini at this point. This is where AI is going. Yes, there is a connection between colonialism in India and the increased prevalence of diabetes, particularly type 2 diabetes in South Asian populations, both colonial disruption of food systems and increased susceptibility to famine, which may have had long-term impacts on the genetic makeup. Ooh, that's nasty. These historical factors combined with modern lifestyle changes contribute to the elevated rate of diabetes seen today. Oof.
But like nobody would have had that conversation a few years ago. They would just say, oh, it's because of the food that we eat, for example.
Yeah. You see this part, right? Lifestyle factors. So first of all, intergenerational impact. The experience of famine and undernutrition during critical periods of development can have long-lasting effects on metabolism. That's crazy. Is this well known then?
I think now it's becoming a lot more common knowledge,
that the British are the reason a lot of South Asians have diabetes.
Yeah.
But it's true. Look, India currently has one of the highest rates of diabetes globally, with an estimated 77 million people affected. Wow. I would be so mad. Is diabetes treatment free in the UK?
I mean, you can be diagnosed and treated for free under the NHS, which would...
And it's not the same in the US, is it?
I don't know about healthcare in the US.
Yeah, healthcare in the US is shit.
That's what we
But
to be honest, the NHS isn't looking that good at the moment.
It's still better.
It's definitely better, but I used to... the NHS was the pride and joy of UK, do you get me? And that's not necessarily the case now.
Charlie's comments was, Zoran Mamdani, oh yeah, that guy, I like him. Only because it's challenging like the status quo. Is a Ugandan Indian. I did not know that. Who wants to be the mayor of New York? His middle name is Kwame because his dad is like that politically. Just wanted to add that since you mentioned Indians in Africa.
Yeah, and Indians also went to Polynesia, like Fiji. Yeah, absolutely.
Did you know Zoran Mamdani's middle name is Kwame?
I didn't know that. No, that's an interesting fact.
But you know about the guy though, don't you?
Yeah.
Oh my God, he was born a year after me. I'm older than him. What? How? What? This is crazy. I'm old. I'm getting old.
There's people younger also doing stuff like this.
I know, but
like in the UK, Leanne Mohammed.
Yeah, but like mayor of New York is a big deal. It's a big, I mean, I'm not putting down Leanne Mohammed or anybody else that's doing incredible things. Yes, but like mayor of New York is a big deal. Have you been following his run, by the way?
Not actively, no.
I have.
Yeah, not passionately, just what I see. But yeah, very, very interesting. I enjoyed that. Moving on to the next episode, which is episode 6. That one was with Peter.
Episode 6 with Peter. Yeah. Let me find it.
It was a journey of heritage and identity with Peter.
Yes, I remember that one. Yes.
He's got Brazilian influence.
Yes.
Not only he is. So it's episode 5 here on YouTube, but on Spotify.
I try to keep the episode numbers the same. Okay, yeah. So moving on to Peter.
Yeah. So again, I guess, is there anything in particular that stood out to you or any reflections from that?
I would say the main thing that when I think about the episode with Peter, once again, this was a long time ago. This is why storytelling is so important, because I feel like stories are the things I remember from these episodes, right? And the main story that I remember from the episode with Peter was the story of his ancestors and how they were taken from West Africa, taken from Nigeria, basically taken to Brazil, and how they were one of the ones that were coming back from Brazil and wanted to go back to their home and set up in the Brazilian quarters of Lagos. And I did not know, considering the fact that I grew up in Lagos, I did not know that it was called the Brazilian quarter, that particular area that he was from.
Yeah, what is it called now? Something marine is where the skyscraper.
Yeah, I don't remember actually. Oh, what? Oh my God. You're joking. No, it's a lie. It's a lie. I'm checking on Google where the Brazilian quarters are in Lagos. And it says Aguda. So what is Brazilian quarter of Lagos? When Agudas arrived in Baja, they took up residence in the eastern part of Lagos, which was later came to be known as Popo Aguda. Okay, interesting. Okay, do you know why this is so interesting? I don't know if I should say this on the podcast
Be
because
careful.
I'm like, but it's so interesting to me because I grew up in Aguda.
Okay.
I was so oblivious to this entire thing.
But this is why things like this is important, right?
The Brazilian Quarter, a story of return. This is incredible. Sorry, what was your question?
Were there any reflections or learning that you took away or applied to yourself or others?
So just the story of these people coming back to Lagos, setting up there, being in the Brazilian quarters, him having that fascism Souza, the Souza part of his name, being the Brazilian part, and strong connection between Lagos and Brazil. And, you know, sometimes when I've forgotten when recently, but I think we also recently met someone from Brazil somewhere, I don't know, me and my friends or something. And there was also that same conversation of Yoruba people, and I think it was a taxi driver but it was in Paris. Anyways, yeah, I think we met a Brazilian taxi driver in Paris, and he was talking about Yoruba people, and he knew about the Orishas and everything. And I was like, wow, I didn't know Yoruba culture was so loved outside of Nigeria. I mean, I kind of did, but at the same time, just to see it, it's kind of cool. It gives you a little bit of pride. And I can only imagine this is how Westerners feel when, I guess, they go to other countries and they see people listening to their music. That small amount of pride is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I would say that's the main thing I remember from that particular episode.
I remember you being quite impressed when he was talking about like what was one of the easy things that you could do here in the UK for the African diaspora. And he was talking about community. And at first you were like, oh yeah, everybody says community or collectivist culture, etc. What do you mean by that? And then he said, you know, when you connect across structure, and that's when you related it to a time when you were working in Sky. And then you were like, oh yeah, it's true. Only if we connected and met people, like everybody has different resources, and then we could share those resources, because he was talking about not wanting to gatekeep and helping other people of your community and just having an open space to talk and learn. So like someone from the accounting department talks to the other department. You don't seem that impressed right now, but you were during the podcast when he was talking about it.
I'm listening.
Yeah, he was just talking about like basically the key is community, and like it's not about competition, but it's about sharing insights and knowledge. And how you can do that is by connecting with people and actually having conversations, like not gatekeeping.
I do agree with that. And it's true, because when I was working at Sky and all the Nigerians were meeting up, some of them started a startup together through meeting up, doing those meetings, and they started a business together and they went and raised money and built stuff. I definitely agree that community is powerful wherever it is we find ourselves.
And I think it's quite an easy thing to do in comparison, like when we're talking about what are the steps that we can take as individuals, I think is something that's a lot more sustainable for us and our listeners to like just have conversations with other people of the global majority. And you might get to know someone who knows someone, and you can really build your resources that way. So I felt like that was a very achievable thing to do, and one of the key takeaways, in my opinion. Yeah,
I agree. I'm still pretty blown away that I don't know if that's correct though, because when Peter was talking about where he grew up, they didn't say Isaleko. I don't know if that's, see, this is just bad geography in my head, because I don't know if Isaleko is the same place as Aguda. But the fact that I Googled it and it said Aguda, it still was tricking in my head.
That's